Hey traders, Raghee here. Welcome to Charts, and you guessed it, I'm rocking the Viking mug today. It's a bank holiday, so I don't know why I'm bringing the Viking energy, but it's also the biggest mug that I have, so that might have a little something to do with it too. All right, great to see everybody. All right, there we go. Happy Monday, everyone. Well, let's get into it. I don't think I want to rehash what we talked about yesterday on Sunday, but it does at least bear a little bit of repeating, which is if we're taking a look at the economic calendar, I'm going to head back on over there just for a moment. If you take a look at the economic calendar, today is a bank holiday. We have, of course, then a little bit less typical volume and turnover. And with that, we're really not going to get sort of the official start to the week until tomorrow. So with that being said, please be aware that once the European and UK markets wind down, what we're going to be dealing with is probably even less volume and turnover than we normally would see, less participation, less eyes. And that's going to be something that we need to be aware of, especially for this afternoon. This week, however, even though you'll see a lot of FOMC speaking engagements sprinkled throughout the week, you've got SNB, Swiss National Bank, we've got ECB, the European Central Bank, but more important than anything, two big events. I'm not overlooking PPI, but it happens to be on the same day that we have Lagarde and the FOMC meeting minutes. That's a double hit for US dollar and euro volatility. So meeting minutes and then CPI. Just a quick refresher, gang. The last time we had a CPI number, this was back here on September 13, that big down candle. That was the reaction to CPI, Consumer Price Index. There are two inflation metrics. I don't know. I think I got cat hair on me this morning. See, this is what happens when you snuggle with the cat before going on the show. I'm just covered in cat hair. Anyway, first world problems. If I have a CPI volatility coming up this week, we know what happened last time. I'm not saying it means we're going to sell off. What I'm saying is expect that kind of volatility. Expect the market to also know we have another one of those coming up. Yeah, buckle your seatbelt. Keep the Dramamine handy. We'll talk a lot more about that after the FOMC meeting minutes. All right, so with all that being said, gang, let's just jump into the questions, all right? So let's do it. I'm going to lift the charts up just a little bit and get this cleared up. There we go. All right, first up. Hey there, Mr. Walker. Oh, no work today. You're not in the office. Oh, very nice. Okay. Crude oil ripped higher since the 27th, right? It has been bouncing, right? It's been bouncing. It's now gone neutral, by the way. This is not a bullish market for me, but let's take a look at the rest of the question. It's at the 200 propulsion. Could the yellow neutral trade environment that we're in be an overbought setup? Yes. I am not looking for a broken downtrend that goes neutral to be an uptrend. I think a lot of traders look at sort of a binary view of trends. It's either an uptrend or it's a downtrend, when in fact, Charles Dow, yes, that Dow, taught us over 100 years ago, there is two pesky other little market environments. One is the sideways market environment, choppy, and the other one's another sideways market environment, the narrow trading range. And this is the choppy one. This is the chop that oftentimes organizes after we get a trend that is broken. So I would look for an overbought stochastic. The fact of the matter is, from a size perspective, let me grab my drawing tools here. From a size perspective, where's the size? Where's the opinion? Where's the attention? Until crude oil is able to get above, take a look at this, 1, 2, right? Until crude oil is able to get above the mean, I am not looking for crude oil to continue higher. In fact, what it's done is a regression to the mean of the VWAP. What it's done is broken the downtrend, but now it's in chop that carries with it bearish bias. So I'm with you there. I'm absolutely with you there. All right. So let's see. Next up is MLCO in terms of questions. All right, let's go take a look at that. Let me move that over a little bit there. Okay. MLCO. It's a sub $10 stock, Off-Road Bear. At this point, what do you know about low-cost stocks? They're probably not heavily weighted in the major indices, right? These are probably not going to be part of the tide. And because of that, it's actually beneficial to a sub $10 stock. It flies under the radar in many ways. And it's not going to be susceptible to the volatility of the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow. And it can kind of do its own thing. So in terms of what it's doing now, yeah, you've got a very fresh uptrend. And, this would, I would normally say if this were a above $20 stock, not a sub 20, not a sub $10 stock, but if it were above 20, I'd say buy the dip. What I'd say in a sub $20 stock is look for where those volume support, those volume ledges are. And then that might be a really good place to make sure you're not alone in your trade idea, that you have some size confirming the support. And I'd keep an eye on those. Is there an ETF for the 6B? It is FXB. It's not very liquid on the option chain necessarily, but it is a rather active ETF, not super active. I can't recall what the daily average volume is, say the 1 month average, but it is your ETF for the British pound sterling. Yeah. All right. Next up, futures are positive. Yes, they are. How are you, family? They're above the previous session close. And for that reason alone, I look at that as bullish territory. Absolutely positive or bullish. I'm with you there. Do we expect a short rally till PPI, CPI? PP family, frankly, that's a lot of days away. So PPI is not going to be as important as CPI, but could we see a rally into then? My friend, I have no idea. Nobody knows, right? So PPI is on Wednesday. So you're asking on a Monday morning at 9:09, right? Do I expect a rally till Wednesday? I will take each. So let's look at it this way. There are between now and Wednesday, the morning pre-market, morning session, afternoon session, and then Asian session. So I'm going to have those 4 sessions today. I'm going to have those 4 sessions Tuesday, and I'm going to have the pre-market session before the PPI is released on Wednesday. So I have 9 sessions, 9 little chunks of time where different sentiment comes in and out of the market. I will trade each one of those 9 as a potential opportunity, right? Could we have an opportunity to see shifts in sentiment and trends in each one of those 9 different segments? Absolutely, right? Do we rally till Wednesday at 8:30? I don't have any idea. And frankly, I don't think anybody does, right? We just have to see if we can continue, as you said, remaining in that bullish positive territory. All right, next up is John says, now that's a cup of coffee. Yeah, John, I got to get a hold of those Death Wish folks. This is Death Wish coffee. I know it's a ridiculous name, but it's memorable. Good marketing, good branding. It's supposedly super caffeinated. I don't know that it's any more caffeinated, but it is tasty. And I love the Viking mug. They need to sponsor the show. So someone needs to get out to the Death Wish people and let them know Raghee drinks really ridiculous amounts of your coffee. The espresso blend is very nice. And they need to sponsor Charts and Coffee is what they need to do. And they make great mugs. Yeah, they have these custom mugs from time to time. They make great mugs. So I'm a fan. All right. Next up is, what do we have here? Is there any info? Oh, Dustin says it bears repeating. Oh, yuck. I love it, Dustin. Who says we're not funny? We are funny and exceptionally good looking. Yes. All right. Good morning, Sam. Info for November 5 class. Is it available? I don't think so. We haven't even gotten to the first webinar, which is on October 26th. So if you have not penciled that in, tell your friends you're busy. Tell the kids to come watch, because I'll tell you what, that's who I'm after. I want you all to be great traders, but I want to see that next generation come up with sort of the older wisdom of trading and not sort of the meme stock mentality. And yeah, I want to reach that next generation of traders. So get the kids also. 26th, 8 p.m., DVR, whatever is going to be on TV that night. Yeah, we're going to have that at 8 p.m. Eastern on the 26th, which is actually my anniversary. And then the class is on Saturday, November 5. And it's going to be all about volume. Yeah, Sam, all about volume. All right, Ashish, Shopify. I love the service. I will tell you this. I love Shopify. If I am buying something online and they don't work with Shopify, I got to plug in my mailing address and credit card information and all that stuff, I'm ticked off. I love the service. Now, it's not doing much for the stock right now. I would say if we're going to look at Shopify, and this would be a long-term play for me. So let's think about time horizon and time frame. So time horizon and time frame for me, it's a little early. It's a little too early for me to say Shopify is ready for a turnaround. However, if we can continue to hold a negative 0.5 standard deviation, if we can hold where we are right now, notice that volume is not accelerating to the downside. Now, I'm not looking at price. I'm looking at that cyan line in the lower part of my chart. As long as that can hold about a negative 0.50, that's a half a standard deviation. We can hold that. Anytime we have a trend that transitions out of a down or uptrend into a neutral market, you're going to find that volume is the precursor. What's the early hint before a top or a bottom? Now, I'm not saying we pick tops or bottoms. They're always going to be a process. I am not out of the bottoming process that I talked about in July. Now, I took advantage of that. We subsequently sold off on Jackson Hole, CPI, and an FOMC, but we're not diving below those July lows from this year in a way that, or June lows, I should say, in a way that tells me the bears have absolute traction. They're not dominant here. They certainly have the current narrative, but not the bigger narrative. I think it's still very much an arm wrestle. There needs to be some sort of artwork. Is there artwork out there where a bull and bear are having an arm wrestle? That's what's happening. I need one of our artists out here to do that. We need that on t-shirts. 2022, the arm wrestle between the bulls and the bears. And if there's going to be a hold, support's going to be the precursor. Then we're going to move to a neutral environment. And then there's a handful of patterns that I will look for. So it's a little early, Ashish, but definitely worth keeping an eye on. What an amazing service. I'm a huge fan of the service, just not quite yet a huge fan of the stock. Wheat, I love it. So Nikolai, if we're going to take a look at wheat, you know what I'm going to say, right? I know you're a long time charts and coffee viewer. Where are we going to go before we go to WEAT and SOYB and CORN? By the way, those of you that are just sort of maybe venturing into commodities, good old-fashioned grocery store commodities, SOYB is the ETF alternative to the ZS soybean futures contract. CORN is the alternative to the ZC corn futures contract. And ZW, which is on the screen right now, is the alternative to the WEAT ETF alternative. And I would probably prefer corn still, Nikolai. Wheat can be a little thin. Wheat, of course, was all the rage earlier this year with the whole Ukraine-Russia situation in terms of wheat exports. We know how that affected wheat and corn. I like grains, period. I like the fact that in terms of a commodity standpoint, I'd rather be long corn. I can't say that I'd rather be long beans quite yet. ZS and SOYB, not quite yet. If you look at the bean complex, bean oil, bean meal, and beans, I'd probably leave soybeans on the back burner. But corn and wheat definitely do have my attention. And the structure is starting to entice, especially if it's above the 200. It's definitely starting to entice the bulls into thinking, you know what? it might make sense to start looking to the long side. When we have strength in those commodities, keep an eye also on MOO. That's an agribusiness ETF, and it's worth keeping an eye on. All right, next question. Ronaldo, thank you. Smash the like buttons, fellow learners. He says, I do appreciate that, Ronaldo. Absolutely. And thank you as always, gang, for being here for Charts and Coffee. My cat's here, but he's sleeping. He could care less. So I appreciate everyone putting in the effort and getting up and preparing for the market. Look, I'll tell you this. Most traders are not thinking about the markets on Sunday evening. During our weekly Raghee report, gosh, we have a lot of folks tuning in and saying, yep, it's time for me to prepare for Monday. Let everyone else start, pouring a cup of coffee at 9:30 in the morning, figuring out what's going on in the hot zones with the weekly calendar and the trends and everything else. You all are ready. So much respect, much respect. So Bernie asks, wondering how many indicators I've made. How many I've made? Gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably more, north of a dozen, most of which I've given away throughout my career, probably north of a dozen. And some of them were I won't say made an indicator, right? Z-score is something I made. There's nothing like it at all, right? But would I consider the wave something I made? No, it was a specific setting of an existing indicator, the exponential moving average. So made would probably be something along the lines of HPMR, DPMR, the V-score. Yeah, I'd say, those would be quote unquote made, right? I like to tinker on Pine Script too. Very, very cool. And yeah, Bernie, I think one of the best ways to understand the market, and I love, everything I'm reading about what you're saying, Bernie, is get curious. I find that when traders stop being curious, they get frustrated, especially right now. The traders right now, they're saying, hey, this may not be fun, and it's not the market that I want, but it is the market that I have. They're curious, right? And they find productive distractions in times of not a lot of great and frequent opportunity. Learning how to code, awesome. Reading some trading books, awesome. Maybe reading some mindset books on breath work. Those are all good. I'm right now. Where is it? Oh, it's on I don't know if y'all can see that in the view. I've got the new Annie Duke book, Quit, out there. So yeah, absolutely. I'm all for a productive distraction. All right, Matt, how are you? Good morning. I know you're not big on predicting the future, only because we can't do it, right? No, can't do it. I do know, I don't even know what time I'm going to have lunch today, right? But if I had to give an opinion on what time frame I think for the SPX to fall to 3,400, so not just that we're going to 3,400, how long it will take, Matt, I'm going to tell you this, and you know what I'm going to say, right, Matt? As always, look, you all have a question, you're curious, you type it in. It's my job, I think, as a trader I will tell you, everyone in this room, all almost 400 of us, I can tell you this. The reason I'm sitting here on this side of the camera is I've been making more mistakes for longer at scale and learning from them. That's the only difference. So I'm going to hopefully give you the benefit of my mistakes throughout my 33 years. And just remember, not only am I not convinced we're going to 3,400, I don't know, right? I have no idea how long it would take. However, Matt, here's what we could do. First of all, remember, there's two levels that we really have to break even to get there in the most basic way. We've got to break 36 and we've got to break 3,500. Major psychological levels will typically have a lot more volume. Okay. Then, if you want to add a little bit more timing, Matt, the closest thing we can do is remember, what are those events that could trigger the volatility? Now, we don't know if it's going to be bullish or bearish, but we know there's going to be decisions made. We know there are going to be volatility events between now and whenever. FOMC meetings, CPI, PCE, anytime Powell opens his mouth, every one of those becomes an event that is a stepping stone that could get us to 4,000 and it could get us to 3,200. I don't really know. However, each one of those cumulatively start to put us in the right direction. And if we start to break those major psychological levels, 36, 35, or even 37, 38, 39, it's a lot more like steps, higher or lower, or rungs on a ladder. And that's the way that I'll look at that. All right. Gang, thank you as always for your time. Time for me to head on over into the Sector Secrets Mastery. Hopefully, a lot of you are part of one of our rooms here at Simpler Trading. So I'm going to make way. I know it's time to go head over into those rooms. We're going to do some day trading in the Sector Secrets Mastery for the first hour. That has been wildly productive for us. And then in the afternoon, we start thinking about some of these longer term situations that we might have opportunity. Opportunity, optimism comes from generally curiosity. Get curious, gang. As Bernie was saying, learn how to code or read a trading book or read a book on mindset, maybe read a book on breath work. And those kinds of books have really been a needle mover for me. Thank you as always. I will see you all tomorrow at Charts and Coffee. Be good to each other, gang.